Learn to read.
Yes.
Sound it out.
Right.
All right, 2 minutes and then we'll get started, okay? Test, test. All right. This time I'd like to call the May 28th meeting of the White County Board of Education to order. If you would please stand and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank everyone that's here tonight as we consider the business of the school district. But before we get started considering approving tonight's agenda, just please note the following, that the Tennessee Statute and Board Policy 1400 state that every meeting of the board shall be open to the public except where law allows for a closed session. The agenda for the board meetings are posted on the district's website at www.whitecoastschools.net. The agendas are posted at least 3 days prior to each meeting. Public Acts of 2023, Chapter 300, and Board Policy 1404 state that each board meeting shall include an agenda item reserved for public comment, as well as the conditions under which those wishing to comment will be recognized. A sign-up sheet is made available prior to the beginning of each regular meeting for those wishing to speak. Individuals who have signed up prior to the start of a regular meeting who wish to speak during this portion of the agenda will be recognized in the order listed on the sign-up sheet at the time designated for public comment. Legislation recently signed into law opens public comment up to include agenda items, as well as matters that are germane to the White County Board's jurisdiction. Per the policy, the total allotted time for public comment will be 30 minutes, and each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Delegations shall select only one individual to speak on their behalf unless otherwise determined by the board. It should not be expected that the board would take up any matter brought up during public comment period during tonight's meeting unless it was on the agenda. The public is encouraged to reach out to the representatives with questions and comments about district matters. Board meetings are streamed with the help of our central technology staff for live or recorded viewing. Links are provided on the district's website. Attending and/or speaking during tonight's meeting implies consent for comments and appearances to be used. So, before we consider tonight's agenda, I'd like this time to recognize that if anyone has a conflict of interest on the items on any item on the agenda tonight, please let that be known at this time.
Mr. Chair, as I do each and every month, nothing on the agenda tonight discloses a conflict of interest for me. Just making aware that my wife is an educator in this system, and the opinions you hear from me tonight will be of mine and mine alone for the betterment of this district and our students and staff.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, So I do not have a conflict tonight, but also my spouse is employed by the district. He does work as a counselor at the high school, but the opinions expressed tonight are mine and mine alone.
Thank you, Ms. Officer.
Mr. Chairman, my wife is the bookkeeper at the high school. Nothing on the agenda causes a conflict, but my opinions are mine and mine alone.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So let the minutes reflect that Mr. McDonald, Ms. Officer, and Mr. Smith all indicated they have spouses working for the district, but nothing on the agenda for tonight's meeting would constitute a conflict for them. So with that, move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Board members, you are presented with a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Ask this time if there's any questions or comments regarding the agenda. Let that be known. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Douglas. Any discussion? Okay, no changes. No changes made to the agenda, so have a motion and a second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Takes us to the next item on our agenda, and that is the review of the results of the director's evaluation. So board members, in your packet, thanks to Ms. Rush and our technology staff, we were provided with information regarding the director's evaluation for this current year. You were provided in that packet, that email, a composite score for all for the 5 categories that we evaluated our director on, and you saw the results for that. Then we also have included in that with the comments on that were left during the evaluation. So this time I'd like to open up the discussion for just a review of the results of our director's evaluation.
Mr. Chair, I know I didn't bring my computer tonight, and I don't have access to that, but there in front of you, can you like state the overall scores just for public record so that folks know kind of how things went for him?
Sure. There were 52 questions that the director was evaluated on, broken down into 5 sections. Questions 1 through 23 were just regarding overall operations as his responsibility as a director, and then questions 24 through 25 were staff and personnel relationships. Section number 3 was educational leadership. Section number 4 was business and finance, and the final one was strategic planning and skills. So for each of those categories, the first category received a composite score of 3.53. For staff and personal relationships, the composite score was 3.4. For the educational leadership, the composite score was 3.56. For business and finance, it was 3.54, and for strategic planning skills, it was 3.36. So all composite scores were above a 3, and for the record, it is a 4-point scale in which we evaluate he's evaluated. Anything below a 2 would require requires a comment for any score below 2. There were 3 responses that were turned in, and those were provided in the email. Some of those comments regard to just personnel and openness to the employees at various levels. The other was there was comments regarding planning and strategic planning, short and long-term planning, so there was some comments on that. And then community development, communication skills. Those were the constructive criticisms or constructive observations. Can't say that these were criticism necessarily, but observations that were shared during the evaluation process. Other questions and comments regarding our director's evaluation?
I do want to say, and I appreciate Mr. D providing us with proof of what he's done over the last year. Although for me it was just a little bit late whenever he got it to me. But that made no difference in the way that I scored him and the way maybe some of the rest of you scored him. But I do appreciate him putting in the work and putting up the numbers so that we can see what he has done over the year, and I appreciate that. So if you're looking for a motion to approve his evaluation, I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. We would look to approve this evaluation score. So I have a motion to approve the director's evaluation results as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Discussion.
I think the results reflect a strong director and a great leader, and I think we're very blessed to have him.
I know over the several years or the last few years that we've been doing this, we've talked about a different type of evaluation. You know, this being my last evaluation that I will do of him. Moving forward, I would still encourage this board to look into a different type of evaluation, and I know that's a long-term goal. But to me, I think that would be beneficial to every board member, not just the ones that are here, but the ones that are going to be coming on.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I think just for the record, speaking to that, because we have served together for a while, you and I, Mr. McDonald, had some conversations about that. I do think we've made progress in the area. The fact that asking for objective evidence, I think that's fair for our director, but also fair for us in our consideration of the questions, so we can compare when a question is being asked, what evidence is provided, and having that evidence to look at takes the subjectiveness out of it. And if we have a problem with that, what he's doing to accomplish one of those objectives, then we certainly have the opportunity then to bring that up for discussion. Any other comments? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the results of the director's evaluation for the 2026 calendar year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is approval of the fiscal year 2027 general purpose school fund budget. That's Fund 141, and then our cafeteria school budget, which is Fund 143. So, board members, we will take those separately, even though they're not itemed out on the agenda as separate. We're going to consider those separate, and we'll have motions on those individually. So do appreciate all the hard work that went into providing us with the financial information for the proposed budget for the school for this upcoming calendar year, or upcoming school year. And know a lot of hard work went into that. I was really impressed, and have to say again, thank you to Mr. Markham, financial staff, for providing us with more easily digestible data to look at as far as where the expenditures go. And you appreciate that, and that found that very, very useful. One of the things, and I appreciate our director putting this in, if you look at the documents that were provided you in your packet coming into tonight's meeting, one of the things that I asked the director to do in preparation is to provide some type of visual, and he chose a pie chart to show for the general purpose school funds where the revenue comes from, because I think that's important for us to know that, and then where the expenditures are going, because I think that is also important for us to know. So if you look in your folder, you can see it's GP charts. And so as you look at that graph, you can see that for revenues, we get approximately 19% from local taxes. We get 80% from the state, and all other sources of income come in from the license and permits for other charges, and then a percentage from the federal government. Now, we'll get into this talking about revenue and the federal government just for clarity a little in just a minute, but that information is showing, where the bulk of our revenue comes from. The bulk of our revenue does come from the state, but which we appreciate, and we also appreciate the local taxpayers' contribution to the budget as well at that 19% level. When you look at general purpose school fund expenditures, if you look at the way the monies are broken down there, you can see that 62% of the proposed budget is going to instruction, which is a direct benefit for our students. We also have on top of that, that would be impactful for the students, is the support services at 34%. So combined, you can see in the expenditures, it's totaling about 96% of the proposed budget is going to either instructional purposes or support services for our students. So we're less than 2% for non-instructional services, and then a minimal capital outlay for this coming year. So just as a general overview, just to see kind of where our funds are going in a big picture, and then of course we have the budget that was the detailed numbers that were provided for us that we reviewed Tuesday night, as well as have in front of us tonight to consider. You can look into the detail, but I did think it was important to see where the money is coming from, the sources, and then also the use of the money, just to make sure that if we using the funds for education, that's where should be the majority of the money should be spent. So I'll give you a chance, pause if there's any comments on that particular sheet of information. Okay, if no comments on that, then we'll move over to our general purpose school fund. We will look at that first, and just for clarity, just make sure we're aware that we are projecting, currently budgeting for a $38 million and some change revenue coming in to support our district, and the proposed budget expenditures is $42 million and some change. There is a discrepancy there of about $4 million, but as we have to keep in mind that some federal programs that will come in later in the fall, when the federal monies are released, that is not included here, and those do come and support some of the services that are listed here on our expenditures. So, but those monies can't be budgeted now because we really don't know what those are. So there is a little bit of there is a gap there. Historically, we've had that, and but there will be some monies, some revenues coming in that will offset that deficit as we get in and give our federal funds the opportunity to come in. But overall, board members, I just want to give you the opportunity to comment on the budget as a whole, and then if you have any specific questions, we have Mr. Markham here with us tonight that could that we would make himself available to answer some of any questions that you might have.
Mr. Chairman, I've got I guess a clarifying question, and this probably is Mr. Markham. On this document here, the proposed 26-27 revenues is $38,027,209, but on the big spreadsheet, I don't know what, is that my computer going nuts? This thing's it's fine, it's just, I didn't know if I was doing that. But on the spreadsheet, it says 37,947,209, a difference of $80,000. That is most likely explainable, but before we move forward in any kind of vote, am I seeing that correctly? And did we talk about an $80,000 discrepancy on Tuesday that I don't remember?
No, and it is, and of course it's hard to do whenever it's printed out, but I apologize. If you I had a filter applied to that, and so to the percentage change, and so if you take out that filter on the spreadsheet.
On this?
It is, on that, it is
Okay.
38,027,209.
So this is
And
accurate.
let me just tell you what that is. If you give me just a second, I can get you that number, which one it was that was filtering that out there.
So on this sheet, on page 2 of the proposed budget for 27, it's 38,27,209. On the spreadsheet for revenues, it's 37,947,209, difference of 80,000.
Yes, okay. It is 46,513. TISA on behalf payments. I apologize. When I filtered that out, I filtered out all the NBs. And that was one that was an NB. And just for everybody's, to remind everybody what those TISA on behalf payments are, when the state generates or determines how much that our district generates with our population, they withhold a portion of that to make payments directly to vendors on our behalf for like ACT tests and stuff. Just there's very minor things, but there are some things that they do that for, and they do that statewide. And that is what that is. We have to show that as revenue coming in and then as an offsetting expenditure. So that's the TISA on behalf payments because they're making those payments on our behalf. But that would be that difference. I apologize about that.
No, you're
Mr.
fine.
Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for pointing that out, but that is correct. I downloaded the spreadsheet and removed the filter. It does come out, so there's no discrepancy there for what's on the sheet.
That NB gets me every time.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just about the pay for the SROs, is that partly Sheriff's Department and school system? Can you explain how that goes?
Sure. So all the SROs in the district are county sheriff department employees. The state 3 years ago provided a grant of $75,000 per school, and that is a grant to the county sheriff's department. And so those employees are paid out of that grant and are all on the county payroll. They're the second SRO at the high school. It only applies for you can only use it for one SRO. So even if the $75,000 would cover the salary for 2 SROs, the state won't let you do that. You can only pay for one. So that second SRO at the high school is paid for by the school district. Okay. And the way that happens, they are still a county sheriff's department employee, sworn officer there, but we will bill the school system for 10 of the 12 months. So we take that officer's salary, divide it by 12, and then take 10 months, and the school system reimburses the general fund, the county general fund for that. Okay. The other 2 months are paid for out of the county general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. What other questions, board members?
So, back to that SRO, the $75,000, that the grant that comes through, so that's per school, the county's given that per school in the district. Does that $75,000, that covers their salary plus their medical insurance and all the taxes and all the things that roll into that?
Yes, it covers that in any equipment or items that they need. If you recall, I think the first year that we got that, we were able to purchase new, well, they weren't new, but used, new to them vehicles for all the SROs, and that come out of those fundings. But it has to be specifically for that SRO at that school. And there's no, just because we can use all $75,000 at Bondycroft, we can't take any leftover money from another school and do that. So it has to be specifically per school that we have to report that out.
And is that a continuous grant year after year, or is that something we have to apply for?
It's as long as the state continues to fund it after the Covenant shooting, that was one of the things. And so, that they come forward with was that. And so, yeah, it's not really something we have to apply for it, but it's not really a competitive thing.
Okay. All right, good, thank you.
Other questions, board members?
This is one that I wish that we had some staff here that could answer this, but, I know we're having trouble with our special ed department. We're having trouble finding special ed teachers. Folks that are, willing to work in those kinds of environments. Where did the money come from to hire a special ed coach? Is that a grant that we got to do that, like we got with the coaches, the curriculum coaches that we had before? And listen, I'm all about making sure we have the best teachers, but I'm just not understanding why we would have taken a very, very good special ed teacher out of the classroom and put her into a coaching position if it's still out of GP budget. So I guess that's why I wish there was somebody from administration here that could be able to answer. And Chad, I don't know if you can answer that or not.
I can just speak to the fact that that is a GP funded position, and those coaches help support the special ed teachers and also the gen ed teachers that have special ed students in their classrooms. And lots of those, many of them have a class in special ed, or just your regular general ed teachers, but they need that support so that those students can function appropriately and flourish in those general ed classrooms as well. And so I know that position is just as an effort to help and assist those, make sure that we are addressing all of the issues that are needed for our special ed students, whether they're in a special ed classroom or a general ed classroom, and is really, we provide support for math teachers and reading teachers. I mean, this is really no different for our special ed teachers. They need somebody to help support them and bounce ideas off of, and just kind of coach them along through the process. So
Yeah,
I do know that it's a GP funded position.
Yeah,
so
and I appreciate, I don't want anybody to take that wrong, that I'm not in support of getting them all the help they need. I just know, even with the coaches that we took, to help with our gen ed teachers, we took really, really good teachers out of the classroom, and that's just been stuff that's been brought to my attention from several people in the district, and just asking those questions. So I'm just trying to get it out there, and I failed to call Mr. D today, and I knew he was not going to be here tonight, and just didn't want to bother him with the situation he's in, and so I just thought I would see if you had an answer, if anybody else has had any of those questions or calls about that as well. So,
Thank you, Mr. McDonald, for bringing that up. I certainly understand where you're coming from there, but also from the standpoint of how we have had success with coaches, and somebody that can kind of step outside that box and and give us some overview, sounding board, and especially if you have people come in and that are trying to need some help for, addressing certain situations. It's a luxury, and if we can work that in, I would think that operationally wise, I see that being an advantage. And really have to leave that up to the staff to be able to determine, how many teachers we need versus how you support the ones that you have.
Yeah, and again, I don't want anybody, and Miss Barnes, I know Miss Barnes is here, and I know she's our technology coach, and I appreciate all the effort that she does to get folks who might not be as technologically savvy like my wife through the day-to-day of, I just called her out, sorry, but she would agree, to get them through that day-to-day, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the forward thinking that we have as a district, to be able to look forward. I just know in times, sometimes it's just, are we approaching it the right way? I'm just putting things out there that people have asked me, and like I said, I want to make sure that our teachers, our coaches, our administration know that I'm behind them 100%, and I want them to know that I've tried to fight for them and get them all the money that they deserve, but whatever we get them is probably never going to be enough because their job is so hard, and I understand it, and I appreciate the efforts that's been put in here on this budget to try to help offset some of those those times. But I just want to, that was just my question. I want them to know that they're appreciated and they're wanted and they're valued, and a great part of this system. So I'll hush now.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Any other questions, comments from the, I guess it'd be south side of the room? Excuse me, northeast. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Smith.
one of the things that we talked about this time last year was the director's salary. And I went back and watched the video of our meeting, and we went from, I think, 110 or 120 was in the budget, and through conversation, we settled at 115. And if you look at the information that we've been provided on director salaries for like size districts like us, and we have about 3,600 students. The average salary is $147,715. The median's $145,807. And I think our director, if he would hear, and I've heard him say it, that he stands on the shoulders of so many in the school district, and you can't help but deny the great marks that the school system has had over the last couple years, maybe even before that, at least since my time on the board. I would wonder if we need to consider increasing that salary in some level over the next couple years, again, to make it competitive for the time in which, just to be quite honest, Mr. D decides to retire. We have extremely qualified people in the school system that might consider a step up when that time comes. And I would like for us to be competitive to retain them going forward. I'm not sure if the others on the board want to entertain conversation about increasing it beyond, let me find it again. It's a 2% by contract, which takes it to 117,300. That's still not the 120 we started with last year. I'd propose something a little higher to get into that competitive range.
So, Mr. Smith, appreciate you bringing that up. That's I was planning to go there next because if you look at the budget, excuse me, if you look at the budget, that is the one area that is we would have the most impact. And one of the reasons why I think we need to do that is for exactly some of the things that Mr. Smith brought up. The market for this position in the district, across the state, and then across the nation is higher than where we're currently at. That doesn't mean that we can always afford to be where everybody else is, because there's a lot of other things that go into play that determine what that market value is. However, if to Mr. Smith's point, if we have to go out and look for a replacement at some point in time, that will happen. We don't need it to be a shock that's saying that we're paying a director, our pay for this position is, roughly 30% of what the average is in the upper or middle Tennessee, the upper Cumberland. That would be a shock if we would if we're not at least conscious of that and having those discussions. So appreciate you bringing that up, but want to give others the opportunity to, if they have any thoughts on that, on just where we are as far as the position, what we're offering for the position, versus where our neighbors are at.
I kind of feel like Mr. Smith and myself are kind of dominating the conversations here, but to your point, Mr. Chair, and to Mr. Smith's point, Mr. D's contract runs out December of 2027. Okay, so that's a year and a half away. If he decides not to want his contract extended, I promise you, we're not going to get in the ballpark and hire anybody for this position at what we're at now. 100%. We're not gonna be able to entice somebody to come in here, whether we promote from within or whether we go outside. We're not gonna bring somebody into White County with the exceptional school district that we got and stay at $117,300. Not gonna do it. I would like to see us do something. I don't know what we can do. We're already in a deficit budget as we speak, but as we look at it over the last several years, we're putting $500,000 back in our GP, in our general purpose school fund this year, put $1.5 million last year, have done some phenomenal capital outlay projects. We really were able to knock it out of the park when the COVID money hit, and that was a blessing to this county. We were able to get several things done, and so appreciate that. But I'd like to hear some more conversation on where people think we need to be. I agree. Last year we were at 120, settled on the 115. Still nowhere close to 120 this year with the 2% raise. So I would just like to hear some more conversation about it.
Ms. Fowler?
I know it seems like I ask this often, but how many students do we have countywide? 36?
We're roughly 3,600, yes, ma'am. And just for record, what we're pulling from, we were provided a document that or a file that showed pay scales across the district. Across the state, Middle East and West Tennessee. We're also given some information regarding the nationwide, what this position is, and so that's what we're talking about, these averages. That's the information that we're pulling from. So for the and that is broken down by size, because obviously districts with higher population, those serving that position are being compensated more.
Mr. Chairman, speaking from my side of the table. So if you look at the large sheet, yes, it's the 117. But if you look on page 7 of the other handout, 7 of page 10, and you look at some other benefits that are there for the director of school, some of these additional things, we're talking about the benefits of the Social Security and the retirements and the insurance. Not sure about postal service, but some of those extra things, there are some other compensations for this office. Again, I'm not saying that 117 is a great number, but I think that when you look at some other benefits to this, that we're closer on some of those things. Communications, for example, does he have his own cell phone that we pay for?
Yeah, the district does provide him a cell phone and I also think internet access,
Is there a vehicle?
laptop.
Is there a vehicle also?
Yes.
So there's some things that are outside of that 117, and I just wanted to point that out.
That is correct, Ms. Officer, and I thank you for bringing that up. Yes, and that is true with all positions within the district. So the salary, the actual salary is one component, but you also have other things that compensate the total cost. And obviously, if you increase, say, a salary position, there are some things that are going to rise with that, such as the Social Security, the retirement match, Medicare, the employer Medicare portion of that. The dues and so a couple of those, if you would, guess perks there that that you're mentioning. There's career ladder program that he was part of, but I think that's being done away with. But there's $1,550 that's a matching for. Comes from the state, if I'm not mistaken, that there's a stipend that he gets for that. Excuse me, that's other salaries and wages. So something that there's we're supplementing for there. There's the communications, yes, that it's a benefit. There's dues and memberships. Obviously, that's for like his involvement with TOS and some of the other things that he's a part of, that for to be with others in groups, associations for people in his position, and so then there's some postal and there's some travel. Travel's not really a benefit, not paying for him to take vacations, but benefit. But those would be more professional related. I think for the if you're looking for the benefit for the individual, it would be made up of your salary compensation, the medical insurance, communications would be considered benefit there as well, and then and that's it. When you go through our account line item as for compensation or things that are charged for cost of our director of schools.
One question she brought up about the vehicle. The vehicle we provide him is not a daily driver vehicle if he's going on vacation, if I'm correct, right?
That is correct.
And if he needs to use that vehicle, I mean, he's asked before, he's furnished the gas, he's taken care of those things. But he's always been diligent about asking and making sure that we're okay and that we know where that vehicle is going to be. And I appreciate that. So
That's correct. That's not necessarily a personal use vehicle. It's for district business, which sometimes may be hard to distinguish between the two, but it's a district business vehicle.
So, am I on? Yes, okay. I see both points because I kind of agree with Jason on that. You know, when Mr. D decides his time is up, I do feel like it's going to be tough to find somebody. But then you do look at the other things, and I mean, I know we would have to do the Social Security and all that, but that does add up for a chunk. And I know we set a deficit budget last year, and I didn't agree with it, and we always have, you know, because we don't know what money we're going to get coming in always. But what if we do this negative 4-point-something million, and there's stuff that we may not get? That's what I always look at. I just have a hard time with that through this whole process.
Listen, I understand and I appreciate that. I understand and appreciate that. That does make this part a little bit challenging. If and just, you know, to put it in perspective, roughly the difference between what our current compensation offer is, or under current contract is, versus what the averages of the Middle Tennessee area, we're below average by about $30,000, roughly, and that is not. That is a significant amount of money from a budget standpoint if you just accumulate that over and over and over. But at the same time, that's probably that's a very small percentage, or small portion of the overall budget and potential deficit that we might have. Again, those budgets and those expenditures. Staff have managed those real well because they've never, on my tenure on the board, we've never come back at this time of year looking at budget and said, everybody overspent.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
If I might, I know a lot of the principals in the other schools might aspire to one day be a director. And I think we have a lot of qualified people right here in our district that would do an exceptional job if he chose not to renew his contract. And that is the highest job you can do here in White County. And I think we would have quite a few very competent applicants from that level. I'm sure they would appreciate the increase in pay, but I still think there would be more applicants that would be very well qualified.
So I think you understand and appreciate you bringing that up, Ms. Stone, from the standpoint that throughout the district, when you think about it, as far as personnel responsibilities, principals would have the most, next to our director, would be responsible for the most amount of employees. And that is something that from a manager or somebody that's either CEO or high-ranking official, that does have bearing in compensation and position. And so the principals would be, depending on where they are in their tenure, because there is a scale for that, that would be the next highest paying job in the district, based on how our pay scales are set up, because there is more responsibilities for those individuals and for that position. I mean, obviously our director position, they require full-time employment, 40 hours a week. However, we all know that the position itself is much more than a 40-hour week job. So I'm just going to throw something out here and just for your consideration. I think from a district standpoint, we should consider: are we satisfied that we're paying high performing employees less than what market value is? I think that would be question number one. currently, based on the average salary for the position in Middle Tennessee, we are currently, and this is with the proposed compensation increase that was presented in this budget, we are still 20.5% below market. So we're in effect getting 20% discount for this position, market-based. And while I think that it would be it would be a lot to go from where we are now to market comp. If he was turning in his resignation, we might be faced with that. But we're not faced with it now. But I think we need to consider that where we're at for a high-performing district, and you cannot say that White County is not a high-performing district. We have the data to prove that. We have reward schools. We have funds from the state for high achievement. The district is doing extremely well, and that's done collectively across the district with all teachers, staff, administrators. They are all performing well, and our director is performing well too. He is a component of that leadership. The thought that was running through my head was this. I think that if you look at where being 20% below market, an ideal target for me would be to get to at least 10% of market. And if you look at where the market is today, 10% would be in the 130,000 range. But it's not to say that you have to do that all in 1 year. Is what the board would feel compelled to do. But I do think as a board we need to make it a point to try to get the position more to market, because Ms. Stone, as you said, the talent that we have within the district, we want them to stick around and maybe consider for a position when it comes open. And you don't want the difference for the job to be, you want it to be worthwhile. You don't want it just be nominal more than what they're making now. You want it to be something that they would aspire to, said for the effort and the work that it would, the difference in pay would merit them taking that step from where they are to that position. So you would want to make it attractive, in my opinion. But that's some thoughts I had. I just want to put that out for you to again for discussion. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have it right here from me. What does the average principal salary rate run?
Give me just a second. I'll see if I can get you close. Okay, bear with me.
You're going to run anywhere from 92,000 at the high school to 75,000 at elementary school. So there's your, little less than 100, 8,000 less than 100, and then 25,000 less than 100. So,
and again, that's based a lot on population.
It is, and years of service.
Yes, and there is a scale for that as well.
And even the senior staff at the Board of Education runs in a similar amounts.
Yes.
The supervisors.
Yeah,
thank you.
supervisors.
Yeah.
All that's going to be in that area.
So one thing that, to put it in context for us to think about, if we think along the sports realm of this, we're getting a director of schools that would be in a single A bracket to play in a 3A bracket. I mean, we're paying our director of schools what a single A school, a school of probably 700 to 800 students range from, and we're about 3 times that.
Yeah, for Mr. McDonald, you bring up a great point, and let me just give you some data on that. For districts with districts with less than 7,000, districts less than 700 students, the average salary base, okay, and I think that Ms. Officer may clarify for you some of the perks that go along with that. The average salary base for students with or districts with less than 700 students, that's $119,000 in Middle Tennessee. So if you go up to, say, districts between 700 and 2,499, Mr. McDonald, that would probably be a little bit closer to your single A districts. Their average salary is 120. If you're looking at again, and this is like size districts, if you just looked at across the state, districts like size to White County, that's where the 147,000 number comes in. So that's like size districts for this position.
So, something that Ms. Douglas just said in my ear, their teacher pay in those districts are probably higher too. Their aide pay is probably higher too. So, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. What are we gonna do for our support staffs? You know, I mean, we're not paying them a market wage. I mean, honestly and truly, they're not working here. Our aides and our support staff, they're not working here for the money. They're working here because they love these kids. They're here for, they're here to have a job. They're not gonna make a living off of it. Most of them have husbands or wives who work and support them, and give them that freedom to be able to do that. I just think we're gonna have to be looking at the pay for those folks down the road too. So, times are changing. Times have changed. The cost of living has changed for me, for you, for my kids, your kids, everybody's kids, their grandkids. It's only going to get more expensive to live in this world and in this country and in this county than it does right now. And I'm going to get back on my bandwagon of the state legislature. They've taken and taken and taken from us, to where it's making it hard on us as a board to be able to fund these positions and fund these proposed raises. Yeah, they're giving us money, but there's always stipulations to it. And then they come back in the middle of the year with these TISA funds and they say, oh, we're going to take this away from you. We're going to take this money away from you that we said we was going to give you. So I just think we need to look at it all. Our teachers have gotten good raises over the last several years when we redone our pay scale. They have been very, very, very well compensated for the things that they do. And the state has put those, parameters in place to get us to that $50,000 start pay. I wish my first year at my employment that I would have been able to make $50,000. And I know Miss Douglas, she and I have talked about it several times, that when she left education, she probably wasn't making that much or more, or no more than that. And that's one of those things that she did it for the love of the children. And I think that's what we're going to have to, in the future, look at the hourly rate for these folks that are getting paid every 2 weeks. And I think that's something, if we do this year for Mr. D, and he says in January, hey, I'm gonna retire at the end of the year, you know what? We've made a little small step, but next budget cycle, it's gonna have to be a bigger one, because the next person coming in is gonna see, well, this is a high-performing district, they need to be paying this. So I appreciate all the conversation.
Mr. McDonald, I just want to piggyback on something you just said, high-performing district. All the work that has gone into getting this district here, we can't solve all problems. We can't pay everybody for what the true value that they're offering is. But we, from a director's standpoint, from a district standpoint, we are performing well. So that next hire, the bar's been raised, and so it's going to mean that the next person you come in, you want to make sure that you get somebody that can lead and not and address some of those things that you're talking about, Mr. McDonald, of how do we go forward in the future, how do we address the way things are changing with personnel and what and costs, and being able to address those hard subjects. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's our director, staff, fiscal agent. I mean, it's those that are having to wrestle with those decisions. We really just have to wrestle with one. Mm-hmm. And so while we're very happy when we're able to vote and approve for them to get increases in compensation, our responsibility from a personnel standpoint is one.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McDonald brought up the pay scale. Is that something that's reviewed on a periodic basis? How did that come about? I think that predates me being on the board.
Well, I think that we reviewed pay scales the year before you came on board.
Okay.
Because we were having to plan for the adjustment when the state said that we needed to move our starting pay up. So they did a very comprehensive look at both licensed and non-licensed staff. And so we spent, I think 2 years ago, time looking at that. I think we looked at one last year. Okay. Came in, but I think it may have just been for a correction. But yes, to answer your question, those are reviewed, and they had to be reviewed during that time when they were trying to move that starting pay up.
When is the next review? Is it scheduled in such a way that every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Yes, I think, I don't think that there is a set schedule for when that's reviewed. Okay. At least, not that I recall. I would say that it's something that, obviously, when you're going out recruiting teachers and you're having to judge market conditions for what teachers are, salaries are, I have to think that when you're looking at personnel plans and recruiting people, you're taking that information into consideration. For how does our scale look if you're losing people to another district compared to what their scales are? So I know there's a lot of benchmarking against other districts, and that goes back into that market cost. Mr. Markham.
And this year we did look at the schedules in a review to kind of consolidate and clean up. There was a lot of different levels maybe that we felt like we could consolidate and make it a little bit cleaner. So we did look at it from that perspective and make some adjustments there to help streamline things.
Mr. Markham, am I wrong in something somewhere that the scale that's online in the HR tab on our website, is that increased by 3% every year? Is there a 3% increase there, or is it?
I don't recall the exact percent, but there is a percentage increase based on the level that you're at, and that's what we tried to address 2 years ago whenever Chairman Young was talking about We had people, specifically in our support staff positions, that were making the same as somebody that walked in off the street. And so we tried to reward those folks that stuck it out and stayed with us. And so that's why we did go to this scale a couple of years ago, and then again made those adjustments this year to kind of clean that up. But there is built-in increases based on your level there.
Okay, I was wrong. It had on the first page of that, he's got it pulled up here. It has the dollar amount, so it's the 1625 this year. It doesn't really say a percent. It just has the dollar amount up in the far left-hand corner.
And that's the certified.
Yes, that's a
payroll,
certified.
Yeah.
Can you go to you can go to the non-certified, John? Thank you. Or support staff.
That's based on 1487 is an hour is your lowest hourly rate.
Okay.
At-
So that's based on
That's like step 0, 1, 1487.
coming into the district, that's where you would
Brand
start.
new, that's 1480. That's an educational assistant. Step 0 is 1487, and then based on the position and the steps, it goes up from there.
So let's say we recruit someone from another district coming in who's been maybe in one of those positions with 3 or 4 years of experience, but just not in this district, but still within that TCRS and within a school district, maybe an adjoining county or 2 counties over, or somebody moved in. Would they come in at that step 0, or would that be something that they would have the opportunity to negotiate during the time of the salary talks on a hire or interview? Am I making sense when I say that?
Yes.
I think so. I think it would depend on the situation and probably the position that was being filled is how
Okay.
that was handled.
So if it was a position that was hard to fill and you had somebody, there was more than likely that they could negotiate, maybe.
My understanding is that, especially on those hard-to-fill
Okay.
positions, the director and administrators,
Yeah.
on administrators input, have that discretion.
All right. Yeah. Good conversation. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. Other thoughts and comments? All right. So, board members, we have to vote and have discussion on the general purpose fund budget. In that general purpose fund budget, there is line items for compensation for directors of schools. So what I'm going to propose that we do, that we get on the table the general purpose school fund budget for 2027 fiscal year, and then we would entertain motions within that if we were going to make an adjustment to any line item in that budget. So the proper way to do that is we would come in and we would make a motion, put the motion on the table, and then any line item underneath that, we would vote to approve the budget based on whatever amendment that might come up, okay? So I just want everybody clear on how I think would the proper way for us to work through this.
We got to get a motion on the floor in a second to be able to have some deliberation.
That is correct, on
To-
specific.
on specific stuff,
On
yes.
specific. Right now, we've just been having general discussion.
I'll make a motion on the floor to get the discussion started and deliberation for the 2027 proposed general purpose school budget, to approve it.
So Mr. McDonald makes a motion to approve the general purpose school fund budget for fiscal year 2027. So I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Officer. Now for discussion.
I move that we line item account 72,320, line item 101, which is the salary of the director, modify the proposed from 117,300 to 130,000.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Smith to amend line item 72,320.
Mr.
One
Markham, can you get us a percentage on that in your
It's
infinite
less,
wisdom?
it's 12%.
Okay,
It's
okay.
12%, because I was roughly 12%, because I was doing some figuring over here.
Thank you.
So, I apologize. I have a motion by Mr. Smith to amend account 72,320, object 101, Director of Schools salary from the contracted 117,300 to, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, did you said 130
Yes, sir.
to 130. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, I would second that motion. Any discussion? I'm not. This is deliberation. We'll take all the time we need, okay? You want the exact percentage?
Yes, what's that? Is it
The exact percentage is 10.83%.
Okay, so is that taking it from the 115 to the 130? Or is that the 117? So the 117?
The
And that's the-
proposed 117.
And that's
correct.
the 10.83, okay.
What is it if you're taking it from the 115?
It would be 12.83%,
Yes.
but we'll double check that. Hold on just one second.
But he's guaranteed a 2% increase per contract.
He's it's 2% regardless.
So we have to work off of the 117,300. We can't work
That-
off of the 115.
That is correct.
Okay. So we would be at a 10.83% increase.
That is correct. Okay, I have a motion and a second. We're in deliberation at this time. Thoughts or comments?
So I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Officer.
So we're doing the line item, so this is base salary that we're looking about increasing.
Yes, ma'am.
So everything else tied to that would also increase.
That is correct.
So I, like Ms. Fowler, I am uncertain is the word that I'm going to use, of the unbalanced budgets. So I'm just cautious. And so is there any way to have kind of a number, like this is, $12,000 more for this base salary, but overall, how much are we adding to the budget is my question.
I can figure that. Hold on just one second.
Thank you.
Unless Mr. Markham already has that
Wha-
figured.
While Chairman Young is figuring, other than insurance, the other items that are listed under 72,320, if we increase the salary to what's being proposed, does that automatically mean that the communication line goes up, the postal line goes up?
No, sir.
No, and I want to clarify on that communication line. Paid out of that is the cell phone that he has, but also anybody else in the central office, in the district central office that has a cell phone, that comes out of that, as does the Ben Lomond bills for the central office. So that total amount is not quite, you know,
It's on the big papers.
yeah.
So, Ms. Officer, Mr. Markham, just confirm my number's correct. The county match, the employer match is 0.0765%. Social Security, Medicare.
That is, and then the TCRS for next year is the 6.34, I believe.
So is it a 3% match to the TCRS?
No, it is an additional match. Let me get you that exactly.
So one
Six
question.
point 35% match to TCRS.
6.35%? Okay.
So one question that I have is, does he gain the same amount of sick time, vacation time that a general ed teacher gains? Or is he, he's a 12-month employee, so,
Yeah, I'd have to look at his contract, but that's spelled out specifically for him in his contract.
I didn't know how many proposed days he had, in his contract. Yeah.
Okay.
So the
So-
overall, I'm sorry. So the overall difference in going from 117,300 to 130 is a $14,478 difference. So 12,700 is your base salary, and then the difference there between those two are your Social Security, Medicare, and state retirement.
So,
So it's an
Mi-
additional $1,800 for those benefits.
so annual compensation, I'm not sure if you're able to figure this. I'm looking at annual compensation, put the base salary in. I did the state retirement at 0.0648%. Then, no, that math's not right. Let's go with your number. It's just because I think I've doubled up on a couple of these, the Social Security portion. Mr. Markham, you said it was, did I hear you correctly? You said the calculation is about a $17,000 increase total cost for the director
It'd be $14,478 increase to the budget.
to the budget. Okay,
So that's everything.
that is everything.
To take it from where it is now to 130, it would be an additional 14,478.
All right, so thank you.
If I heard you right, the only thing that changes in that is the Medicare, the state, all of the state payroll taxes that come out of that.
Yeah,
The
Medicare, Social
communication,
Security, and
all of the
retirement.
other items in there listed stay the same.
Correct.
That's just the $1,400 or $14,000 extra would be added on top of the budget for just salary and anything, Medicare, Medicaid, insurance, everything that goes along with that.
Right. When you adjust that number in the 101 line, then that makes those other numbers go up correspondingly.
Okay. And that's a 10.83% increase, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where does an 8%?
Okay.
Where
Um,
does 8% get us?
Other questions? I mean, this is important and out of respect to our director, but also to the board and our district. We need to make sure that we think this through and get our questions answered.
We're gonna be raked over the coals for them. Can you give us numbers on, instead of 10.83 and 8%?
So, Mr. McDonald, I'm going to suggest that if we, well, I'm sorry.
I'm
Sorry.
just- I'm
If
just-
you
I
want to
just
get,
want- I
you
just
get,
want
yeah,
some-
that's
I
right.
just want some numbers to correspond with what we have here.
So that would take the base salary, and 8% would take the base salary to 126,684 instead of 130,
Okay.
and would be a 10,698 overall increase to the budget.
No. So,
Why do we not start at the 115? Why do we not start at the 115 and do like 8%? Because I know he gets 2% anyway, but 8 is part of the 2. I mean, that's just giving him, I mean, it's giving an 8 total.
So if we did that, that would be 124,200.
Yes, that's how I've been figuring all
Yeah,
along.
and so that would be, that would make it from 115 to 124,200, and that would make, the increase to the budget from where you're at now would be not hardly 7866, because you've already got 2% figured into that. So.
Right.
But that would make the base salary 124,200.
Yeah, and that's how I've been figuring it. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna give just I'm gonna give just a little coaching for everybody. Just make sure we're clear and we're following proper Robert's rules as best as I understand them. So we have a motion on the floor to increase the director's salary line item budget from 117,300 to 130. We had a motion and a second on that. So if that motion is on the table, so you can amend that motion if you want to come back with a different amount, but we'd have to vote on that amended amount and then come back to the and that would change the motion that was previously made. So I just want everybody to know, as I'm sitting here trying to keep track of this, if you have a different number in mind, you can, but you would have to make a motion, get a second. We'd have to vote on that to change the number that's currently on the table.
Mr. Chairman, hang on, he's talking. If a person did that, came back with an amended amount, and we voted and agreed on that amount, what happens to the original motion?
It's changed.
Okay.
It's changed to the amended amount. I just want to make sure everybody clear on on that?
Are all of these figures that we originally talked about are on the 115 or are they on the 117,300? Is this 10%, 10.83% from 117, is it,
That's
Move it.
117.
okay,
It-
moving it
It's
to,
13.04% for 15.
Yes,
so it's really a 12% increase, right,
that is correct.
to what he's currently making? Okay.
And we gave the teachers a 3% this year, correct?
It was 1625 was the base was adjusted, so the minimum that anybody got was 1625. But then as we adjusted the steps up through there, several of them were more than that. So I think as he said last time, it's 1625 plus some. Your plus some may be different in order to get everybody on the right step.
You said that's 16.5%. Is that?
No, $1,625. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, all right.
I'm sorry,
All
yes, no. Yeah,
All right, I'm just making sure that I was,
yeah. my
yeah, that everybody
apologies.
knows that was a dollar amount, not a
Yes,
percentage.
That's
Okay.
correct.
We've been going back and forth between the two. It's a good time to make sure we're clear. Yes, ma'am.
The teachers and the staff, the way that's figured, that's just a little over 3% raise for them, correct? Between a 3 and 4% raise.
Ms. Stone, I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Markham for that.
Let me try to run that real quick.
3.25. Okay. Rumor has it we think it's around 3.25%, but we're going to wait for, see if we have information a little bit better than that.
Okay, so this is real back of the napkin math, but roughly 3.57 if you average out all those changes.
So I appreciate that. And I do appreciate the comparing that to the district and district compensation, and seeing how we win as a team and lose as a team, and I appreciate that, that inquiry, Ms. Stone. One of the things on the teachers, from a teacher's standpoint, is that we are, and this is a lot driven by the state, is but something that this board obviously supports is what you're seeing there, but on a much larger group of employees. You're trying to see that position become more attractive, be more of a market comp base, and so, you know, at the end of the day, we, as Mr. McDonald was talking about, our some of the other positions throughout the district, the compensation changes, a lot of that's is determined by market. If people stop applying for jobs, or they start leaving for other jobs based on compensation, then we're going to be counting on our administrators to figure out, okay, that's got to be a new number. What is it? And make that, you know, from a market standpoint. And again, with the data we're talking about for this position, we're considering it from a market position for the market value, market compensation based on the position.
All right, I'd like to make an amendment to this motion, if I may. After doing some math off of, well, Ms. Douglas has done some math here. I don't take credit for it, but because she's much smarter than I am. Right now, Mr. D is at $115,000 is his base salary. If we do 7% from $115,000, that gets his mandatory 2%, and then it's 5% on top of that, which is, if we're at 3.52 for our teachers, that's double of what almost double what the teachers are getting. That takes you to $123,050. I'd like to put that in for a motion to raise it 7% from the 115 that he's at now, including that mandatory 2%. So it would be 2% mandatory, and then 5% on top of that to take the total to $123,050.
All right, so Mr. McDonald has made a motion to amend the 130,000 salary as proposed by Mr. Smith, to amend that number to $123,050. That was his motion to amend that amount. So have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Douglas. All right. Now discussion on the $123,50 number.
And everybody sees where that, that's the mandatory 2%'s in there. And Mr. Markham, you may be able to give us the hard numbers on that if, because he's making 115 now. He's getting 2%. That takes us to 117,300. And then you add 5% on top of that to make it a total of 7% instead of the proposed before 12%. So can you?
Right, so what it does is it adds an additional $6,555 to what's in front of you.
Okay. So I'm going to put this in perspective, just based on some of the things we've been talking about tonight. Currently, currently for the position, based on the data that we have for Middle Tennessee, the average salary of the director, $147,400 roughly dollars. We're currently paying our director we are currently paying our director 20% below market based on that data. And so just in perspective, if we move to $123,050, we are still 17% below market. Okay. So I'm just, since that number was brought up, you know, yes, understand we're talking about the individual, we're talking about compensation for that individual. We're also talking about, from a district standpoint, preparing for the point in time we have to offer this position to somebody else to make sure we get best candidate. We have a really good director in place now from a candidate standpoint that would probably could go to any neighboring districts in our area and negotiate at least for market comp. So, but I just thought I wanted to share that calculation is that that motion, that $123,050, that is, we're still 17% behind market.
We still have to think about the simple fact that we're down 1,100 students than where we used to be too. So we got to get those students back. When we get those students back, that means we're going to get more money from the state, and we can't make it all up in 1 year. I mean, I agree, and I know we're below, but I just, with my heart, I just think we're going to get raked over the coals if we do 12%.
Ms. Fowler.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I see your point. I really do. But we got a lot of people struggling in our county. And, I mean, I had a few phone calls this week, but, yeah, I don't agree.
All right, is there any other discussion on this motion to amend?
Mr. Young, Chairman, I think in all good conscience, if we're only giving the teachers 3.5%, if we're doubling that, I think that's saying a lot. But if we can only afford to give them that much, I don't see it, like Mr. McDonald said, I think we're going to take a lot of negative feedback if we try to jump 12%. And like he said, we can't get it all in 1 year, and this is not the best economy to be talking about that kind of raise, in my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. All right, so if there's no other discussion on that, then we're going to take vote on this amendment. This amendment to the dollar figure amount for the amendment that budget amendment that Mr. Smith made. So the amendment is to amend the amount of salary for fiscal year 2027 from $130,000 per year to $123,050. $123,050. That is what we're voting on, motion to amend. That's the amount. So this time we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion to amend?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler.
No.
Motion not to amend, correct?
Correct.
Oh, wait.
All right.
If I say that, though, is it gonna go back to the other?
It'll go
Yes.
back to 130.
Well, I don't like that.
All right. right, so okay, so you're
I
voting
wanna
no
vote
on
to
the, on,
amend it, but then you can vote against going to that.
Okay, so I'm voting no.
You
you're-
wanna vote yes to
you-
amend lower.
Oh,
yes, ma'am. You want to vote for this number instead of the 130. That's what we're,
but then will we, I thought, this is just for the
Then we can
amendment.
talk again.
then we'll talk again.
Oh, okay, let me rescind that. Yes. To amend.
Yes to amend, Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Yes to amend, Ms. Stone.
Yes.
Yes to amend. Okay,
Mr.
So-
Young, your vote.
Chairman doesn't have to vote unless there's a tie.
You don't want to vote anyway?
Pardon?
You don't want to vote
Well, I
anyway?
made the motion for seconded the First Amendment, so that's kind of where I'm leaning, but that's okay. The board, I'm with the board because that amendment passed, so yes, I'm for the 123,050. Okay, so the budget amendment, so on the table now, we have Amendment 1, Mr. Smith's motion that has been amended for removing the director's compensation from a budget number from $117,300 to $123,050 for the proposed fiscal 2027 general purpose school fund budget. So that's the amendment that's on the table that we would need to address now. So any other discussion on that amendment?
Just for clarity, when we vote at this time, it will be to vote on the original motion as amended.
Yes,
To
sir.
make the percentage a 7% across the board for 123,050 for the director's salary for 2027.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, just so we know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think we have to move with this, the understanding that that would have impact on other budget line items as well, but that's just normal course
yes,
of the
yes.
flow down. So everybody understands that, correct? It'll mend those flow downs, okay? So that's that's the amendment that's on the table. Keep it open for a little bit more discussion if needed.
So I just want to make it clear, I'm not against anything over the 2%, but I don't agree with the whole 7.
Okay, so do you need to make an amendment?
Yeah, you sure can.
Well, we're back, you can, there's,
on the
we're
original
back on the original amendment, but yes, you could, since that amendment failed, you
Put
do have the
another number
opportunity
in if you
to
want
amend that, yes, ma'am.
You have another number you want to amend it to.
number? Another percent?
Yes. I do.
Can you state that in form of motion?
Okay, I make amendment. Okay, so I do. I want to make a motion to amend instead of the 7% at 123,50 to 5% at 120,750. So that's 3% over his 2% raise.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend the director's salary for fiscal year 2027 from proposed budget from 123,050 to 120,750. Have a motion by Ms. Fowler. Do I have a second? Have a second by Ms. Stone. All right, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, is that an overall, he would automatically get the 2%, and that would be 3% more, so a 5% across the board raise, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment that's on the table that would adjust the director's salary amount for fiscal year 2027 from $123,050 to $120,750? Any more discussion on that number? Okay, if not, then we'll take a roll call vote, and this will be yes will be to amend the number down to $120,750. So start to my left, Ms. Stone. Yes. Ms. Officer.
No.
Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
No.
Ms. Douglas.
No.
Mr. Smith.
No.
Okay, the motion fails for reducing that number. So now we're back on the original amendment. Have amendment on the table to adjust budget number account number 72320 line 101, the director's school salary for fiscal year 2027. I have a motion to amend the budget from the proposed $117,300 to $123,050. Any other discussion on that amendment? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. We will start with Ms. Fowler.
No.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Ms. Stone.
No.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion passes to amend the budget for the director's salary for fiscal year 2027 from $117,300 to $123,050.
Mr. Markham, can you give us, maybe you did give us that number already, the total impact of the budget one more time?
The impact to to what was originally before you is an additional $6,555 in expenditures.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, board members, that takes us back to the motion on the table is for approval of the 2027 general purpose school budget fund 141. We've discussed the director's salary. We've also discussed the other questions prior to that regarding the budget, and so this is going to be the last round for any other questions regarding the fiscal year 2027 general purpose school fund budget. Okay, if not, we'll take roll call vote and start with Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Stone.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler.
No.
Mr. Young.
All right, motion passes. Motion passes, so we approve the general purpose school fund budget. That will go to the county commission to get final approval, so thank you. So the next item, board members, is the cafeteria fund. We were provided with the information on the cafeteria fund revenues and expenses for the upcoming year. So projected revenues for the budget for 2027 is $3,394,000. That's a revenue increase projected at 3.22%. The proposed budget for expenses is $3,743,000 $288. So that is a increase of $156,480. So a expense increase of around 4.5%. So that nets, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Markham, but it looks like an overall deficit of 1% projected, correct? So I got confirmation on that it is projected deficit of 1%. Again, very much like what happens with the general purpose school fund budget, is the project low on the expense, on the revenues, higher on the expenses, and then work accordingly. So that is the proposed budget that we need to be considering tonight for passage. Anything we need to discuss before we consider any motions?
Mr. Markham, quick question on the cafeteria budget and the revenues. I know we don't have a lot of control over a lot of the expenditures and a lot of the revenues that come in on that because it's federal money. But are we adding back to the fund balance on the cafeteria side? I know we won't do it as much as we would be on the GP side, but are we adding each year back to that budget, or are we always in a deficit there?
So probably for the past 2 years, we've been drawing down on that deficit, or drawing down on that fund balance. Prior to that, we were adding to the fund balance each year, and then, for fiscal year 25, we drew down $337,000 on that.
Okay.
We're projecting to not quite as much this budget cycle or this fiscal year, because we had some food service equipment purchases that we made in fiscal year 25, but we are expecting to see, to not add back to our fund balance this year.
Okay.
At least not a significant amount, if any at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions about the cafeteria budget? Technical questions that we need Mr. Markham's input? Okay, if not, then want to entertain a motion for approval of the 2020 fiscal year 2027 cafeteria budget, Fund 143. Entertain a motion for approval. Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Officer. Any discussion on this budget?
Do we see any chance at all that commodities are going to go down at all on the cost of goods and food? I mean, I know it's a silly question to ask, but I'm going to ask it.
I mean, hopefully we'll see a small decrease, but I don't think that we're going to see a decrease back to what we were seeing a couple of years ago anyway. So
Commodities are probably going to trend with inflation year over year. Inflation.
And was 24-25 just a crazy year for equipment, food service equipment? I mean, was that just?
We had some larger pieces of equipment that we had to purchase, and we're looking at this year when we redid Cassville, we moved some of that old equipment from the old cafeteria up to the new addition, and we didn't buy new equipment, and we probably, in hindsight, should have bought new equipment then, but we didn't, and so some of those pieces of equipment we're fixing to have to replace there at Cassville, and so. And it depends on the piece of equipment that goes down as to what we have to do.
So, if you look at estimated ending fund balance June 30th, 566,170, and over the last 2 cycles, we've lost an average of 300,000 annually. Right. So in about a couple years, we're gonna have a pretty tough conversation, right? If
I think-
everything holds true.
I think we're going to have to, and we have made some changes in the summer feeding. We started that last year and are really ramping up on that this year. And so that is, if anything, that's maybe kind of our saving grace there is they put a lot of extra work into getting those summer feedings done. And so hopefully the income from that will help stabilize us a little bit. But when it comes to larger pieces of equipment, you know, that's probably going to be the next conversation that that has to be had with the school board and administration regarding funding some of those pieces, maybe out of general purpose school fund or something. But as of right now, we're trying to work and make the things
And I
make it
think-
work in any way that we can.
And I think one of those conversations that we probably would have to have would be having to go back to all the students paying for lunch and breakfast again. I mean, that would be a revenue that we could add to.
It would, but then it would reduce your federal revenue.
Okay.
But in 2
All
years,
comes back to those stinking feds, don't it?
in 2 years, we're going to have to look at that, and we have to renew that CEP application. And so depending on how that turns out, it will determine whether it's advantageous for us from a financial standpoint to continue on CEP or to go back to, you know, free and reduced and paying. And so that's a conversation we'll have to have at some point.
And I know my comment was negative. It's definitely not directed at Ms. Savage or anybody that's working in the cafeteria.
No,
That works with these budgets, but it is a very obvious concern that we'll have to address as a board, probably in 2 to 3 years.
and I would venture to guess that if you talk to any of your peers in some of the other counties around us, they are already having to have those conversations with their school nutrition funds and how they fund that, so.
It's a challenge.
Matter of fact, I had one of those conversations just last week with one of our neighboring counties, and they are already in that cycle.
All right. Those are good discussions, good questions. Mr. Markham, thank you for entertaining that, but let's make sure we do have a motion on the table for approval of that, for that budget. Anything specific to this budget that we need to have discussion, deliberation on? Okay. This time then, we'll have a vote, and we'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Ms. Stone.
Yes.
So, motion passes, motion passes to approve the cafeteria budget fund 143 as presented. So, all right, thank you. That brings us down to the next item on our agenda, and that's public comment. Sign-up sheet was posted before the meeting, but we have no one wishing to speak that signed up for that. Takes us next item on the agenda, this new business. There's no new business on our agenda. Oh, hold on just one second. We may have a question or a new business or a
It's-
comment.
I want to ask Mr. Markham a question. So the school gets 33 pennies still, right? Is it 33 pennies?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. How long has it been that way? 33. How long has it stayed?
That was new last year.
Okay.
During reappraisal, it went down, and then the county commission took 2 additional cents from the amount that would have normally been there. But 30. So this will be the second year.
All right, for
33.
those of us who are ignorant to what a penny is worth in the county aspect of it, can you clarify that?
Sure. So for fiscal year 27, we project a penny to be $98,355.92. So when you see your tax rate's $1.41, that's 141 pennies. And so those get split out. 33 pennies go to the school system, to the general purpose school fund. 2 pennies will go to the highway department, and the remainder go to the county general fund. And each one of those generate that $98,355.92. And that is a 5% delinquency rate that we figure in on that. So we figure that at 95% of what we project to get, or of what the gross value of the penny would be.
Thank you, Ms. Markham. Does that answer your question, Ms. Fowler?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. So, so no new business. It takes us down to the next item. Old business. There is no old business items on our agenda, so that leads us to chairman's comments. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to fellow board members for just a very just a good board meeting tonight. Well, good discussion. I appreciate you, your thoughts and your comments and the seriousness you take for the district and our budget, and also our directors. So very much appreciate that and the input. And the next comment would be that our next board meeting would be on June 11th, 2026 here at the Board of Education building. We will have a work session at 5 o'clock and a regular meeting at 6. So at this time, that leads us down to the last item on our agenda, and that's adjournment. So I entertain a motion for adjournment. Have a motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Ms. Fowler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Roll call vote.
Mr. Young, yes. Motion passes. All right. Thank you all.